You have worked incredibly hard to save your money in the TSP, invest it well so you can have a good nest egg for your retirement. However, what most Feds fail to realize is you don't have complete control over that account in your retirement. RMDs are when the government requires you to start pulling money out and pay the needed taxes. And if you plan well for this, you can keep those taxes relatively low. However, many people get themselves into all kinds of problems because they don't think about it, they don't plan ahead, they get to their RMD age, and it's too late by then to do a lot at that point. So let's talk about today, what are RMDs? Should you actually care? Because some people don't need to worry about them. Some people should, depending on your situation. We'll talk about that. So you know exactly what it is and what you can do to save as much in taxes over the course of your life. So let's talk about, when do RMDs start for you? Basically, it depends on when you were born. If you're born 1960 or later, RMDs are going to start in the year you turn 75. If you're born before 1960, it's going to be an earlier age. So many of you watching are younger than 75, so you have some time before RMDs start, which is a big thing. That's very, very helpful. Now, which accounts are actually impacted by RMDs? Well, only traditional accounts, only accounts that haven't been taxed yet. For example, traditional TSP, traditional IRA, etc. So if you have a Roth TSP or a Roth IRA, those accounts are not going to be subject to RMDs, which is really, really nice. I've got whole videos on comparing traditional versus Roth, so you can check those out. But that's one of the huge perks of Roth, is you don't have to worry about being forced to pull it out later. You can pull it out on your own terms. Now, the first question people ask all the time is, okay, the government requires me to start taking money out of this account at 75. What does that look like? Do they require the whole account to come out in 1 year? What does that look like? The answer is no. They don't require all of it in the same year at all. For most people, and basically you can look this up for your specific age and when you got to start them. It does vary, but what we found is it starts right around 4% or so. Okay, again, fact check that for you. It's a little different for everybody, but for most people, it starts around 4%. So for example, if you've got $1 million in your TSP, traditional TSP, 4% is $40,000, all right? So many people looking at that say, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal, 4%. And honestly, most people are withdrawing 4% just themselves anyway, just to do their living, so it's not that big of a change for most people. However, why is this something you should be considering? Well, let me talk you through it. Let me actually clear this up, and let me paint you a picture. Most people have the vast majority of their savings in the traditional TSP. And let's say you retire at 62. And so let's say your RMD age isn't until 75. So you got 13 years or so. Well, you got your pension, you've got your Social Security, maybe you're taking a little from TSP. But for most people, their money continues to grow over the course of their retirement. And when RMDs start, that 4% that used to be reasonable may not be so reasonable anymore. And especially for those that their big goal isn't to spend all their money. If your goal is to, let's say, leave an inheritance or just have a really, really nice safety net for you late into your retirement, you may not be spending down your investments so that by the time RMDs start at 75, you've got a really nice nest egg, which is what you want. But if it's all traditional, if it's all in the pre-tax bucket, your income can really pop up and be high, push you into high tax brackets for the rest of your life, which can impact two major things. Number one, how much you pay in taxes, obviously, but also number two, if you're on Medicare, I've got whole videos on Medicare if you want to check those out, but if you're on Medicare, your premiums are based on your income. And so if your income suddenly pops up because of RMDs, then you may be paying more in Medicare premiums as well. All of these things are connected. They're connected. So that's the problem is, hey, look, down the road, you're going to be forced to pull this money out. Whatever tax bracket you happen to be in, you're going to be forced to pull it out. So what can you do now to be proactive to pay taxes on your own terms and not just waiting for the government to tell you what to do? And this is a couple things to consider. Number one, Roth conversions. Now, if you're not familiar with this, what it is you basically are taking money from a traditional account like a TSP or something like that and moving it over to a Roth one. And when you do that, of course, that is a taxable event. Whenever you go from traditional to Roth, it is taxable. However, throughout your retirement, you can choose when and how to do this. So if, for example, you've got a dip in income for whatever reason, maybe you're waiting to start Social Security or your spouse is working, now they're not, whatever it is, if you have a dip in income where your income's relatively low, instead of wasting that good low tax bracket, you can move money over to Roth in those years, which means you're building up your Roth over time. You're working your traditional account down so that when RMDs hit, you've got more money in Roth, which again is not subject to RMDs. That can be super, super powerful. Now let's talk about QCDs. This is for those that are charitably inclined. If you like to give to charity and you do on a regular basis, this is by far the most tax efficient way to give to charity with a QCD. In a nutshell, what it is if you move money from, let's say, a traditional IRA and you have to take out your RMDs. Let's say you have to take out 30 grand for your RMDs this year. If you take that 30 grand or a piece of it and send it straight to a charity of your choice, then that income never shows up for you. You never have to be taxed on it. It's not going to impact your Medicare bracket, none of that, which is fantastic. So if you're charitably inclined, look up QCDs. I'm not going to talk about this a bunch, but just know most people, while they're working and in the early bits of their retirement, get zero tax benefit for giving to charity, but you would get tax benefit if you do it in this way. So look up QCDs if, again, you're charitably inclined, all right? Now, here's the next strategy. Early in retirement, let's say you've got some money in a Roth account and you got some money in a traditional. So you got traditional TSP and some Roth. One of the best things that people can do to help keep RMDs down later is what if early in retirement, you don't touch your Roth and you take withdrawals that you do need early in retirement from your traditional TSP. If you are able to do that, where you pull out and deplete down your traditional first, letting your Roth money continue to grow, again, we've got the same impact of traditional being depleted and Roth growing more over time so that come RMD age, there's less things that you're forced to do. Having more Roth gives you more options down the road come RMD age. Now, I'm not saying it always makes sense to move everything over to Roth. If you're working, you should definitely use Roth. I'm not saying that. Again, I've got whole videos on when it makes sense to use both, but just know it's really nice to have some Roth in retirement. So certainly things to consider, all right? Now, here are, in my opinion, the two types of people that RMDs are the scariest for. Number one, the savers. There's some out there that really, really are good at saving and aren't as good at spending, okay? Which is a great skill to have. It's really, financially, it puts you in a great position. However, these are the folks that they really struggle to even use TSP in retirement. Even if they wanted to, it just makes them nervous to. And so their TSP continues to accumulate, to grow, which then come RMDs, boom, it really pops them up into a higher tax bracket. Now, I'm not saying all savers need to spend their money. You can do whatever you want. It's your money. But again, consider things like Roth conversions, where maybe you're not taking withdrawals to spend, but maybe you're getting that over to the Roth, paying the taxes throughout the early bits of your retirement. So later, you don't have to worry about RMDs as much. Also, what about those that want to give money to kids? What if they're intentionally not spending as much from their TSP as they could because they want to leave money to kids or spouse or whoever? Those people can run into a lot of problems with RMDs as well because they're not really touching their own money. And come RMDs, boom, they've got a big nest egg that, again, will cause big RMDs. So if you're one of these two, and there's other scenarios as well where it can be a problem with RMDs, but these are the most common, then you want to make sure you've got a plan for this stuff. What are you going to do, whether it be QCDs or Roth conversions or withdrawing from the traditional first? These are some of the ideas you can do to potentially lower your RMD impact down the road. So I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.